Hi there. In this video we're going to take a quick look at PowerPoint, and more specifically the use of PowerPoint to lay out and compile your portfolio, the 14-page portfolio for the project. So I'm certainly not going to attempt to teach you everything there is to know about PowerPoint, and perhaps you might use a different software like Word or Publisher, but I'm going to suggest and advocate that you use PowerPoint, and I'm just going to guide you through what I feel are the best aspects of the software and the most useful of those aspects in compiling the portfolio. So to begin with, I've opened up a blank PowerPoint document. Just a few little tips. If you hold Control and hover your mouse in the graphics area, as you scroll the mouse wheel, you can zoom in and out of the slide. You can zoom right the way into a part of it. I don't necessarily want this click to add title, so we'll get up here to Home, Layout, and we'll pick a blank slide. First things first, I want to make sure that I have an actual A3 size sheet of paper in front of me, and it's very important. My monitor is currently set to a widescreen mode, so I've got a widescreen slide up there. And just to prove that, if I go to Insert, Pictures, and bring in a picture, this is a sheet. It's exactly A3 sized. I drew it in SolidWorks and exported it, so that image is A3. And if you compile your portfolio in PowerPoint using that white space available, when it comes time to print it, it won't be the correct aspect ratio. So it's very important straight away, right now, to set that sheet to be an A3 sized and proportion sheet. So to do that, let's go to Design and all the way over here to Slide Size, and we don't want standard, we don't want widescreen, we want a custom slide size. And this next bit might be a little bit confusing. Slides sized for, and we'll go to A3 paper and press OK. And it doesn't really matter which one of those you pick, so let's just go Ensure Fit. It doesn't actually make the sheet of paper go the proportions of an A3 sheet. It's ever so slightly different. So to make sure you get a proper A3 sheet, let's again go to Design, let's go to Slide Size, Custom Slide Size, and let's just type in the size of an A3 sheet of paper. So it's centimeters, not millimeters, so let's go 42. And then 29.7, because of course an A3 sheet of paper is 420 by 297. So 42 centimeters, 29.7, and let's make sure both of them are set to landscape. Press OK. Doesn't really matter in this case which one of those you pick, so let's go to maximize whatever. And now if you drop that sheet on, it should snap to the edges. You'll find that you have a perfectly A3 sized sheet. So I'll get rid of that image for a second. I may want that in a few minutes. So the next thing I want is to have the correct number of pages in my portfolio. So the shortcut to add a new page is simply hold Control and hit M, or else you can go to Insert, New Slide, and you can pick the type of slide you want. So I want a blank slide. So again, Insert, New Slide, a blank slide, or bring in a new slide using Control M. So here we've got 16 slides in place, and if you want you can get down here and press this view and you can see all 16 slides. Remember, if you hold Control and zoom out, you'll be able to see them all like that, or go back to this view, you'll see the slide here and a preview, a thumbnail over to the left. The reason I have 16 as opposed to 14 is the first one is going to be a cover page, the last one is going to be a list for references. Now you may want not to have a white background, you may want to have some sort of a gradient or some sort of background, and you can do that manually per slide. For example, you could go to Insert, Pictures, let's take this bike path and let's put that image into the background. Now it's slightly bigger than the aspect ratio, so we'll make that there. It's a little bit too imposing, so let's double click it. Up here to Corrections or Color. If I go to Corrections, you can make it watermarked, you can make changes like that, or more than likely color, and if you just simply change the contrast or something down like that, you can get a lightening of that image. Now that still might be a little bit overpowering. You could change that in Photoshop, or you can click the image again and get up here to Artistic Effects. You can make all sorts of modifications and changes with that, so you have a background rather than a white sheet. Now you'll notice that in all my sheets, that background has only been applied to a single one of the sheet. Now, I'm not saying you have to use this. You could just as easily delete that and you could put in a gradient. But if you want to do something to all the sheets, you must do that in Slide Master. So if we go up here to View And if we go to, sorry, it's not view, it is, yeah, view. So view, slide master, you can see over here there's the different types of slide. There's the heading slide, there's probably a blank slide there as well. So whichever slide we have, just leave the one that's open there, you can make a modification to it. So in this slide master, I can go to insert pictures, and I can bring in that image, and I can make a gradient. Or what I'll do this time is I'll right click, I will format the background, I'll bring in a gradient fill into the background. I can decide where the gradient starts and stops. I can decide what colors I use for the gradient. I can pick a yellow color. Let's put that back to white. I can decide the direction. I can have that going from, say, the one side over to the other. You can make all sorts of options over there. Let's make the transparency a little bit greater so you can't really see it. Brightness. You can make all sorts of modifications. I personally like that option rather than the image. Even the color there is a little bit too dark, so I can bring that up or down. Let's take that blue and make it a much lighter blue. And in any case, whenever you get the gradient you like, I like it because rather than just a boring black or white slide, you've got this. When you're happy with that, go to Close Master View, and now that will appear on all the slides. Now if you go to a new slide, Insert, New Slide, if I pick a blank slide, I get that blue one. But if I pick, say, a title slide, now it's white. So the slide master only, the modifications only pertain to whichever type of slide you put in there. So let's get rid of that a little. Let's right click, Format Background, which we have over here. Let's go Solid Fill, and we leave it Solid Fill White. Because another thing you could do is go to Insert, Shapes. Let's bring in a big rectangle and make sure it's bigger than the sheet. Then the shape, in that case, can be blue, or you can go to Shape Fill, Gradient, and you can pick different gradients down here. I just personally like doing it that way because you have a little bit more control over it. Right. So in any case, whenever you get the sheet you're after, the way you want it, press OK and you've got the sheet. So Close Master View, I'm going to leave mine white, I'm going to leave mine blank. I want to put a text box up here, so let's go to Insert, Text Box, and I can draw a text box there, and I can simply write TCG assignment and so on. So to bring in a text box, insert text box and type into it. When you click the text box, when that little blinker is flashing, that's how you edit the text. But to move it, you click it by its frame, and then you click the frame and you can go to Home, and this icon will make the text much bigger. Obviously over here you can make it bold or whatever format you want. So what I'll do as well, instead of putting in a text box, is you can go to Insert Shapes. So I'm going to put in a shape of, say, a rectangle with filled corners, and up here in the top left, I've got the shape. There's a load of preset colors in here with patterns and gradients. Let's pick a little blue gradient there. And if you want to write in that text box, you right click and go Edit Text. So I'm going to call this Cover Page. And I'm going to select that text. The handiest way to select text rather than dragging it is simply double click a word and triple click a word, and the entire thing becomes selected. So let's go to Home, and let's make that a little bit bigger. Let's make that white, that'll be fine. So just for myself, I can take a cover page and I can copy it by going Control C, and then if I click on each individual slide, I can paste it. It's taking a couple of seconds there. What's slowing down the computer now is this is open, this options bar. Let's get rid of that, it'll speed me right up. So I can paste that onto every individual sheet. Or if I wanted, I could have gone to View, Slide Master, I could have pasted it in there, and then that would appear on all the sheets as well. So it's totally up to yourself, whichever way you want to do it. So let's go to View, Slide Master, and I want to get rid of that. Close Master View. So what you can do just temporarily is just set this out for yourself and for your students. So the cover page is going to be there, the next page is going to be design, and so on. So it's worth taking all 16 pages from the get-go and just putting a quick label on those pages just so you know what goes on each page. For example, the last page there is going to be references, and so on. So I've skipped on a little bit, and what I've done, just as an indicator for myself and as a reminder, I've put that little tag on every individual page just to lay out the document so I know what's going to go on to each of the 16 pages. For instance, the last page is going to be references, we know that. The second page is going to be design, research, and so on. Just on the cover page, I know that's going to be a cover page. When I'm finished, I'll get rid of that little cover page tag. And I'm certainly going to write on DCG student assignment and the year. I'll write my exam number, but I'm just going to bring in an image of my newly modelled bicycle, and then I haven't got the concept drawn yet or the modification, so put an image of that there as well. And as per the instructions, it's important to write somewhere what version of SolidWorks was used. So to do that, it's just a matter of going insert text box and drawing the text box. And if you want to put a little frame around something like a text box, just click the text box by its edge. And up here you can go to shape fill if you want to put a colour into the text box, or you can go and put in a gradient if you want, like that, or you can just put a simple frame around it. Shape outline, and let's just say press the little black button there. And I'll tuck that down in the corner. If I want to put a frame around the picture as well, I'll click the picture and go to shape outline and press that little black box as well. I like to have these things balanced, so rather than having one image too big and one image too small, if you hover around, they should snap into alignment with each other, and as I drag this one a little bit bigger, it should snap into alignment there as well. If I want to move both images at the same time, I can hold Control and click both of them. Now both of them will move, and if I resize one of them, both of them will actually resize as well at the same time. So let's just put in a very simple gradient in the background. I know we did this we did it a little while ago, but let's do it differently. Let's go to design, or rather view I should say. Let's go to slide master, let's bring in an image. So let's go to insert, pictures, and we bring in this bike path. We'll make it big enough so that it fits the entire sheet. Should snap on there, let's make it narrower there too. And what we'll do actually is, instead of changing the color or corrections, which is no problem, we can go to transparency. And I can make that image incredibly transparent. So you can't now close the slide master, you got to get over here to slide master just to turn it back on, and then close master view. And now that image will be across all the drawing sheets, including the cover page, and it just takes the dull look off it. I'm not saying to do that, it's totally up to yourself how you lay it out, but that's how you do it if you choose to do it. The only thing that might cause an issue with is when you get onto the sketching, the freehand graphical representation page. You don't really want to go drawing over that when there's something there already. So what you could do is just blank that off. And now that the master has been applied to that, the only way to blank off that is to go to layout and pick a different sheet, say title only, then that sheet becomes blank if you want it. Another thing you could do, let's just put that back, is you could go to insert, you could go to shapes, and bring in a nice shape like this filleted rectangle, and you can put a large shape in the middle of the page there. Shape fill will be white. I think I missed that there, we'll try again. Shape fill will be white, and now, and let's put a border on it actually as well, so shape outline will be black. And now you've got a large white area in the middle of the sheet, but the sheet is still themed, it's still got that border around it. And what you could also do as well is just make that the main drawing view, and you could take that. To take a copy of that, simply hold Control and click and drag a copy of it. And perhaps you'd like to smaller images over to the left hand side, or a number of smaller images. I'm not exactly sure how many of those you'd want. So at least now when you print that sheet, you've got the same theme and you've got the white areas in there for printing. So while we're at it, we just go to a page, say the design research. Now in this case you typically want to bring some images and some text. So to bring in some images, insert pictures, we've covered that already, and you can bring in a picture of the wheel or whatever. Click an image, select it by its corner to resize it. So if you want to put like a label or some text over that, it's just a matter of going insert text box, and let's put down bike wheel. And if you zoom in on that by holding Control, I can see that the order I brought things in matters. I brought this image in first, and then I brought the text in. If I now go to insert shapes and bring in a rectangle, that came in last, so that's on top. At any point, if I want something to take dominance, if I want this blue, this bike wheel to come on top of that blue shape, right click the image and go to bring to front, and now it comes in front of the blue and in front of the black. So if I want that black text to come in front, right click, bring to front. So bike wheel. This now, this whole page is going to be made up of text as well as maybe some sketches as well as some photographs. If there is a room or a position that you want to put in a sketch, I suggest you go to Insert, Shapes, like we did previously, and just bring in the box for the sketch now. Click the image, shape fill would be white, shape outline probably black. At least then you've got the little shape. When you print the sheet, you can put your sketch in there as well. But the text box more than likely needs to be filled in now. So first of all, get the shape and size of the text box right. So click it. You can resize it if you want. Let's get the desired color in it. Maybe it's just going to be this blue color as well. The border, just a little black border if you want. Right click, edit text. And any text you put in there will be fine. So there's a load of text. Let's get rid of some of it. And there we have it. So that text can be modified, it can be made bold, it can be made italics, you can do whatever you like with it, and at least you can move it around as well. If you want to highlight this shape, for instance, if I hold Control now and drag that box out, that same text box with the same properties can be used everywhere. I recommend you doing that. But maybe some of them, I don't know, will be primary research, some of them will be secondary, some will be pictures you've taken yourself, some will be pictures you've taken from the internet. But you can click something like the image, and you can go to Shape Effects, Glow, and Orange. I can select this image, Shape Effects, Glow, and maybe Blue, and I can select these boxes as well, Shape Effects, Glow, and Orange. So perhaps down here you might go Insert, Shapes, and you can just type in by author, click that frame, Shape Effects, and Glow. So in this case, the orange glow box is the key that shows that they are things taken by the author, and maybe images taken online. Oops. They're going to be in, say, the blue glow. Okay. So basically, you can do a lot with that. As long as you're able to bring in images and edit the appearance and shape of images, bring in little white boxes for sketching, and bring in text box, you can do pretty much anything with that. You may want to get up here to Insert, Shapes, and bring in some arrows. Even a simple arrow like that, if you draw in an arrow, you can click it and go Shape Outline, which is the color of the arrow, so I can go to red in this case. Shape Outline, come down as far as weight, and I can make that arrow significantly thicker, and I can just drag it around like that if you want to workflow. So in the document itself, I've moved on and I've put in some of the photorealistic images. It's just a matter of bringing and dropping in the photorealistic images around, bringing in some text and dropping it there. But once that is laid out on that page, there's very little else you have to do with it. Traditionally, the SolidWorks hard copy, the SolidWorks drawing sheet, you just leave this page blank in the portfolio, print it from SolidWorks, and then just drop it in here. You could also save the drawing sheet from SolidWorks as a JPEG and go to Insert, Pictures, and bring in the JPEG of the drawing sheet here. So it simply means that you've got everything in one document. So when I go to print this in a little while, I don't have to print from SolidWorks and then print from here in PowerPoint. I can print the entire portfolio in one go, and there I have it. And even better, I can save the entire portfolio as a PDF if I wanted. But for the assignment, you don't typically save it as a PDF from here. You print it and you scan it as a PDF. So all in all, I think PowerPoint is actually a great means of doing it, because you can see all your pages together there. You can easily jump from one page to the other. You can easily lay everything out in one document. And when you have the entire document done, it's just a matter of going to File and Print. I'm not necessarily saying that's the best way to do it. Over the years, it's the way that I certainly like the best, and I don't think you'll run into too much bother if you do it that way.